So thank y'all. Thank you very much for your participation. I want to remind everybody that ASCE membership renewals are coming up. I believe the deadline is at the end of this month. So if you haven't renewed your dues, please don't forget to do so. And lastly, in keeping with the giving spirit, I want to let everybody know that we do plan to make a donation to the Central Texas Food Bank at the conclusion of today's luncheon. And to kind of give y'all a backstory. So back in the spring, when it became abundantly clear that COVID was going to have a pretty negative impact on a lot of people's lives, we made the decision to make a pretty sizable contribution to the Central Texas Food Bank, which we did back in June. And that was above and beyond what we had originally budgeted for. And since then, we've continued to accept donations at each of our luncheons. And if you have donated in the recent past, I want to say thank you. We sincerely appreciate it. If you haven't donated, please consider doing so. You can find the donation link through the event registration, and maybe somebody will even post that in the chat here on this webinar for easy access. And with that, I'm going to introduce today's sponsor. So this month's meeting is proudly sponsored by Ameritex. It's sponsors such as Ameritex that help make it possible to support all of our wonderful programs. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ron Reichert, who will give you a little bit more information about who Ameritex is and what Ameritex has to offer. So Ron, go ahead, take it away.
All right, so I am going to share my screen, and I think Bradley told me I have about 25 minutes to talk here, so we'll go with that. Ameritex Pipe, we are a reinforced concrete pipe and box culvert manufacturer. We are based in Seguin, Texas, and we are a supplier for reinforced concrete pipe, box culverts, and soon to be precast structures. Now, I don't know if anybody's seeing my screen or not. Are you seeing that? You are. Okay, good. What I can't do is get it to the slideshow, but that's all right. You can see it well. So that is me there. They used my likeness in this advertisement, but no, that is actually showing Dallas skyline in the background. For those that don't know, we operate facilities in Seguin, Conroe, and we're building a new one north of Dallas, Texas to serve that market. So that having been said, I also want to say that at any time of year, but especially this time of year, we should always remember our veterans of all branches of the armed forces. We're only able to do what we do because of the sacrifices they make. And if you know a veteran, thank him or her. If you are one, thank you. Typically when we're in person, I ask our veterans to stand up, but that would be difficult right now. So, the honor that goes with serving in the military is something that can't be diminished. And sometimes along with that, there is some sacrifice made. And so every day should be Veterans Day. Every day should be Memorial Day. And we also do not want to forget our first responders. So again, they serve a very important purpose also, allowing us to do what we do without problem in most cases. And they put their lives on the line every day also. So you may think, okay, Ron, you told us about veterans and first responders. What about Ameritex? Well, I'm going to do one more thing. Bradley mentioned giving. If you're looking for charities to support, here's some ideas on some charities that support veterans and first responders. The top one, Camp Hopes, is a PTSD home run by Michael Berry, the talk show host in Houston. Tunnels to Towers came out of 9/11, and Heroes on the Water and Veteran Outdoors take veterans out for hunting trips and fishing trips. And a Hero's Promise is a Facebook page that does a lot of good work year round in particular. So back to what we do. David Matoka is another person that you can contact on this. I see him on the call. American Concrete Pipe Association Pipe School is coming up in 2021. If you are interested in attending, it's virtual this year. This is the flyer, but pipeschool.org for more information. David will be another contact. You can reach out to him also. Here's my contact information. If you are itching to get out of the office and come tour our plant, we can do socially distanced plant tours if you are interested. There's also good information at concretepipe.org, learning opportunities, and we're also available to do online trainings and hopefully pretty soon back in person again. So with that, again, we are proud to be a sponsor of the Austin branch. Wish we could be there in person, but hopefully 21 will be a better year for everybody. So at that point, I am going to stop sharing and turn it back to Bradley.
Thank you, Ron. Yeah, well said. We appreciate you being a sponsor. Thanks again. And with that, we're going to run through a few more announcements before we turn it over to our speaker. And I'll pass the mic off to Paul Hahn, who will moderate this portion of the meeting. So Paul, go for it.
Thank you, Bradley. And yes, thank you, Ron and Ameritex for sponsoring and for sharing with us today. Up first for announcements, David, are you ready to talk about Engineer of the Year?
I sure am. Season's greetings, everybody. And let me first follow up by saying congratulations once again to Saul Nucitelli with the Texas Water Development Board. He was our 2020 Engineer of the Year Award recipient. And so that means that it's now time for the 2021 Engineer of the Year Award nominations. They are accepted up to January the 8th. And again, nominations are open, and it's pretty much last call. So you won't hear me harping on this at the January meeting. It'll be too late. So you know some deserving folks out there. Reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you set up your nomination form and get a deserving engineer recognized. And quickly, speaking of deserving people, I do want to give a shout out to Ron Reichert. For those who don't know, Ron does an incredible job with CECon and has for numerous years. And Ameritex has been a good supporter of CECon, along with my industry, Forterra, and the Concrete Pipe Association. So shout out to you, Ron, for all you do for the Texas section and ASCE in general. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Aya, are you ready to talk about community service?
Yes, I did want to introduce again one last time that we are doing a virtual fundraiser and our page is indeed live. So we're trying to make this a friendly competition. So if you and your company are interested, if you, of course, through your company donate the most amount of money, you will be offered free membership through ASCE Austin branch. So please let us know. I'll send up a sign up link through the Zoom call. But yeah, we're excited to do this through the holiday season and it will go towards January 31st. So if you already signed up, you should have gotten an email this morning regarding how to proceed. So yeah, thank you so much, guys.
All right, thank you, Aya. Let me share my screen while I'm doing that. Austin, you are up next.
All right. Again, want to thank Ameritex for sponsoring today. My name is Austin Helton. I'm the sponsorship chair for the Austin branch. Just wanted to let y'all know that we have a lot of positions or spots available for meeting sponsorships in 2021. So if you're interested, please reach out to me on the email shown on the screen here. We also have annual sponsorships that come with a few perks, including your logo on multiple materials, such as the website or the newsletters. And then it also includes the ability for you to upload job postings onto the website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'd really appreciate your support. And that's all I've got. Have a good one.
Thank you, Austin. Marita, it is your turn.
Hi, my name is Marie Tamoya. I'm the younger member director this year. We host events for young professionals in the Austin area. This week, we do have a happy hour with Christmas trivia that you can join in on Zoom for. Details can be found either through our Facebook page or also like the email that went out this past week. So if you have any further questions, you can reach out to Clayton McNeil. He's our social chair this year. And we hope to see you guys Thursday. Thanks.
Thank you, Marita. And now I am going to speak about SEI on behalf of Scott. So the SEI January professional meeting is coming up January 21st. The topic will be bridge expansion joints. So if you are interested in structural engineering, please look at the link on the screen there and register to join that virtual presentation. And then the annual structural engineering talks with the outside the box unconventional discussions is still coming in 2021. Typically takes place at Alamo Draft House with drinks and dinner. We'll see how that works out this year, but that is coming up still in the new year. And who's next? Lizzie, you are up next to talk about EWB.
Awesome. So I'm Lizzie Wilson. I'm the director of projects for the Engineers Without Borders Greater Austin chapter, and we are starting virtual general meetings. So this will be our first general meeting that we've done since everything has gone virtual. But this would be a great way if you are interested in learning more about what Engineers Without Borders is, what our chapter specifically does. And this is a perfect opportunity to join and just learn more. You don't have to actually become a member, but this is kind of like a social event for new people. So please email me. My email's up there, but I'll put it in the chat for the Zoom link and hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. And Joe, you are up now.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm soliciting nominations for the Texas Society of Professional Engineers Young Engineer of the Year Award. So this is for any engineers that are 34 or younger. We've had a lot of ASCE members win this award in the past. So if you have coworkers that you think would be good to nominate, or if you yourself would like to nominate yourself, that's fine too. All the information is available on the TSPE website under awards, and there should be also an announcement with ASCE.
All right, thank you, Joe. And I believe that concludes announcements for today. So with that, I'm going to introduce today's speaker, who is Rick Valdes, Supervising Investigator with the Client and Enforcement Department at the Texas Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors. He has over 28 years experience as an investigator with the state of Texas. 16 of those are with the board. As an investigator, Rick ensures the TBPELS Act and board rules are followed and investigates complaints that are received by the board regarding violations to the Act or board rules. Rick has worked for the Travis County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and while there, he was the program manager for professional boxing in the state of Texas. Additionally, Rick was also the supervising investigator for the Texas Real Estate Commission before joining TBPELS. Rick has a bachelor's in criminal justice from Southwest Texas State University that used to reside in San Marcos. Rick, are you ready to begin the presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me find the other your presentation and we can get started. Over to you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Paul, for the introduction. Yes, I did run the boxing program for the state of Texas. Quite interesting 4 years of my life. Yes, I was also the supervising investigator at the Real Estate Commission, and now 16 years here. So I'm pretty adjusted to what's going on with the engineers and the laws and rules. Today we're going to be speaking about the ethics presentation that we have in store for y'all. And without further ado, go ahead, Paul. Let's get it started. Next slide, please. Webinar audio can be heard through your computer speakers or phone. All attendees will be on listening mode. During the presentation, use the question feature in the webinar software, not the chat feature or the hand raising feature. If there are questions not addressed, please email the presenter. A PDF of the slides is also available on our website. Next. Documentation of attendance for continuing ed purposes will be the follow-up email from the webinar system sent within 24 hours. No certificate will be issued. If registered as a group, please keep and distribute a sign-in sheet for all attendees with the follow-up email from the webinar system. Will that be your deal there, Paul?
Yeah, we can take care of that.
Next, please. Our agenda today will cover a COVID-19 update, about the board, core functions, professional responsibility, got some scenarios of some of my cases, and board activities. Again, that's my title there. That's my email. Should you have any questions, you can always ask Paul for my email or take it down at the moment. Go ahead. COVID-19 update. Agency closed. Offices have been closed to the public since March. So we've been working out of our own homes since that time. We do periodically come into the office. I am in the office today to do this presentation. I'm usually here twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes more. As a manager, I have a lot of things that I have to take care of, and so I try to make myself available here. The offices will remain closed at least till the end of January. Depends on, again, any spikes that are going out there with respect to this COVID-19. Our team is all teleworking, as I just explained. Email communication is best at this time. Usually what I do is, if I need to speak to somebody over the phone, I can use my personal cell phone. I have a way of, I guess, blocking my number. But in any event, I'll send an email and let you know that I'm fixing to call you. And hopefully you'll be able to pick up your phone and we can have a discussion about whatever case I'm working on that involves you. Operations continue to be normal as best as they can in here. By that, I mean, we're still processing applications and we are still processing enforcement cases. Also, renewals are still ongoing. Go ahead, Paul. We are available on the website. It's the COVID-19 update. FEFS&P exam Pearson View is closed and was closed in April. The PE exams canceled, NCES canceled in April as well. So was the RPLS exam. But it was, however, given, the RPLS was given in October of 2020. The NCEP exams given in October. All exams are on schedule for April 2021. Pearson View is reopened, located by location. Continuing ed, not canceled or modified at this time. It's kind of modified at this time, but it's not canceled. Emergency Rule PE applications plus 1 year. Next slide. Again, we are on available on the website and social media. You can reach us through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's our email, our address, pels.texas.gov. Next slide. Our board consists of 9 members that are appointed by the governor. 5 are licensed professional engineers, 1 registered professional land surveyor, 3 public members, 1 ex officio representative from the General Land Office, and their standard term is usually 6 years. Next. This is our current board at this time. Mr. Bobby Bayi, Mr. Rubiano, Mr. Chang, Ms. Norwood, Mr. Adejukun, Kiran Shah is a public member, Colleen Johnson is an RPLS, Margot McLean Stoglin is a public member, Mark Neugebauer is our RPLS board member. Next. Our staff in here, we have 36 members. Dr. Lance Kinney is our executive director. Michael Sims is my boss. He is in charge of compliance and enforcement. Rick Strong is the manager in the licensing and registration department, and Janet Sobieski is the operations manager. Next, please. Our mission has been and always will be, is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of the state of Texas through licensure and registration of qualified individuals as both engineers and land surveyors, compliance with the laws and rules, and to educate folks about the engineering and land surveying processes, laws, rules, etc. Next. This agency started as a result of a New London school explosion that occurred in 1937, where approximately 300 students and teachers were killed, resulted from improperly mechanical and electrical devices. This is the gas leak that occurred underneath the school. At that point, or at that time, there was no odor for the gas. Now they've instituted and changed that since then. They call it ethyl mercaptan. A lot of you know it as the rotten egg smell. So this gave rise to that, institutionalizing or instituting the ethyl mercaptan into the gas, which if you smell that, you know something's leaking. I believe I have a video on this. Go ahead and see if it's on the next slide. Click on that. That's where New London School is located. That's the picture of the brand new school in 1937. It's a picture of it right after the explosion. You have some audio, you can turn it up.
On March 18, 1937, this schoolhouse in the quiet little town of New London, Texas, was suddenly torn to pieces by a terrifying explosion. Inside, more than 400 lives, almost all children, were snuffed out by the blast. from an undetected gas leak in the school's basement had come all this. Destruction everywhere. So powerful was the blast that it hurled a 1-ton slab of concrete across a driveway and demolished this car. The New London school explosion claimed more lives than any other school disaster in our history. It looms among the saddest milestones of the century.
So that's a short little news reel picture of the report back in from 1937. Next, please. So and from that point on, over 139,500 Texas PE licenses have been granted. Currently, we have over 68,000 PEs that are licensed. It continues to grow on a weekly or monthly basis. The land surveying group, we did take over their program this past September, or 1 September. They were established in 1919. That was the Land Surveying Board, and the Public Surveying Board was established in 1955. Both surveying boards merged in 1979, and they merged with us again in 1 September of 2019. Over 6,800 Texas RPLS registrants have registered since 1955, but currently there's only about 2,800 in the state of Texas. Well, that are registered, I'm sorry. Could be anyone. Next, please. So our licenses, our law and rules are set to protect the public, and they set the minimum standards for licensure as professional engineers and RPLSs. It sets continuing practice and competence standards, ethical and professional standards, compliance with these standards of professional practice, and standards for indicating competence, titles, seals, etc. It also prevents unqualified, or tries to prevent unqualified individuals from offering or practicing where it could endanger the public. I've had numerous cases on that particular area where unqualified individuals have taken licenses from folks that are deceased, and what I mean taking is that if the individual sees that in reading the paper or in hearsay, whatever, that the individual has passed away, and they have some thoughts of using or abusing the license that individual had, albeit engineering or RPLS. That I've had them where they've used it, and they have been subject to our sanctioning, so that we try to prevent that from happening again. We try to establish our laws where we can prevent people from abusing the licenses that are available for professionals only. But to prevent unqualified individuals from offering and practicing where it could endanger the public. Next, please. Fields that are regulated and licensed vary among individual states. Among regulated fields are healthcare, professional, medical doctors, nurses, psychologists, lawyers, teachers, etc. Wikipedia has that information. Most of these fields impact the public one person at a time, as opposed to the work done by engineers generally has the potential to affect many. As you are probably aware, an engineer that designs a bridge or a building is responsible for that. So if there is an issue with that or with that particular structure, it usually comes back to one particular individual. Next, please. So the public's perception on how to rate the honesty and ethical standards of folks or these fields is whether they're very high, average, low, or very low. As you can see, the nurses hold a very high level of honesty and ethical standards. Engineers are up there at 66%. In the old days, when we had the entire list, and you looked at the very bottom of the list, it said clergy. So, yeah, you can see that based on this slide that clergy is not up there. Engineers and nurses, doctors and pharmacists hold the top part of this particular perception. Go ahead, next one. So protection of the public's health, safety, and welfare. And it drops down. Go ahead. Education, experience, exams, ethics, professional licensure, professional practice, and responsibility. All contribute to the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Next, please. So professional responsibility, competence. Competence is gained by education and experience, measured by the FE&P exams. Texas uses nationally accepted standards, but considers each application independently. Each one of y'all have been considered independently. Everything that you have the experience, the education, and qualification is different than the person sitting next to you, or your colleague, or anybody else. So we take your application and we look at it to make sure that everything is met, and is in any experience, again, education or qualification that you have, is looked directly for your for the purposes of approving your application. So Texas does not license by discipline, but professional engineers must not practice outside of their competence. I have a case, one of the many cases that I've investigated, where an individual attempted to practice under 5 different disciplines, and he was not able to successfully do that. In fact, we had multiple cases that kept coming up all the time against this particular individual, and it ultimately led to the revocation of his professional engineer license. His work was not necessarily following the standards for electrical, mechanical, and structural, etc. He did have one field that he graduated with, but from that point on, he attempted to, I guess, create a company where he relayed to the public that he was capable of performing all kinds of engineering, and he wasn't. We kept receiving complaints, we kept investigating, and until we kept actually opening cases against him and finding him, and it ultimately, as I said earlier, led to the revocation of his license. So 13759A, our rule specifically tells you, engineers shall practice only in their areas of competence. Next, please. So, protection of the, again, public's health, safety, and welfare, ethical responsibilities and expectations. Avoid conflicts of interest. If you have a project coming up, or one that somebody's speaking to you about, avoid the conflict of interest if you see one. Be a faithful agent to your client. Be prepared to have a dissenting opinion if necessary. Obligation to be aware of the violations of the Act. You have that obligation. How does this protect the public? you're expected to know the right thing to do and to do the right thing in the practice of engineering. Again, this is right into my ballpark. There are folks that do not avoid conflicts of interest. Now, to your credit, at 67 or 68,000 in population right now, the majority of y'all do not give us any problems. Yeah, you folks are constantly as professional as possible. But you know, this is a city of 68,000 people where you're going to have your speeders, and you're going to have your thieves, and you're going to have your assault. You're going to have all of that. So it's not the entire city, but it is one of the things that we are kind of like the police department, and so we get these types of cases on a daily basis. So again, you're expected to know the right thing to do and to do the right thing in the practice of engineering. Next, please. Communication, honesty with your client, clarity, not misleading. No. Make sure you, if it's a client, make sure that he or she understands what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. If you can draw up a contract, that's great, but don't be misleading. Don't go in and say, well, you know, for so many dollars I can do A, B, C, and D, when in fact you can't do that, and you know that, and in your mind you might think that you can get somebody else to come and help you. At the end of the day, if it is an assignment that you undertake, hopefully you'll undertake it if you know exactly what to do. The engineering field is, as you know, can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. By that I mean, if you don't perform well on your calculations or your work, whatever it may be, things can happen to the structures. Be respectful to all parties. Maintain the public trust. Again, do timely communication with our board. You're expected to be complete and correct in the practice of engineering. Next, please. As a licensed or registered professional, you have a wide range of actions and options, legal obligations, ethical obligations, and again, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Professional responsibility, that's paramount. Next, please. Board Rule 137, Subchapter C encompasses all these chapters: signing and sealing, direct supervision, objective and truthful, care and diligence, actions of others, aiding and abetting, codes and ordinances, continuing ad, and your PSPA. Next, please. Signing and sealing. Signing and sealing indicates the work was done by the professional or under the direct supervision of the professional. Again, we have cases behind that. If you are doing the work, make sure that you obviously know what you're doing and you sign and seal the work that you do. And if somebody else is doing it that works directly under you or works in the office with you, make sure you look at that work to make sure it's complete and accurate. It is going to be your work. You are going to be the person signing and sealing. Preliminary work, if properly notated, permit, bidding, etc. Responsible parties, if more than one professional, need to note that. Dates issued, revisions. Again, signing and sealing indicates your professional responsibility for the work. Bottom line. Next, please. Now, I've got some scenarios in here. Most of these are cases, if not all of them are cases. We didn't concoct anything. These are basically, the only thing we did is we removed the names to protect the innocent, I guess. And who knows, if you recognize this to being one of your cases, you're certainly welcome to call Paul or somebody, Sam or somebody in here, and talk to them about it if you want. Let's go. Let's see. A PE was hired by a property owner to prepare a site plan for rental property. After attempting to access the property, the renters refused to work with the engineer. A PE discussed the issue with his client. The client, who was not an engineer, provided his own version of the site plan to the PE. Never good. The PE then signed and sealed the plans on the spot and gave them back to the client. Yes, there was a case, if not more. Next, please. Was this a violation of 3733? Licensed holders shall only seal work done by them or performed under the direct supervision? How about 57B3? The issuance of oral or written assertions in the practice of engineering shall not be misleading or shall not in any manner whatsoever tend to create a misleading impression. Or 63A, engineers shall engage in professional and business activities in an honest and ethical manner, or all of the above. Next, please. Yeah, all of these, 3733B, B3, 63A, and yes, plan stamping, passing off as another person's work as your own could be considered dishonest, plan stamping. Next, please. Another quick scenario. You're licensed PE and supervise others who perform engineering work on your projects under your direct supervision. After you signed, sealed, dated, and issued engineering plans for a design of a hotel, it was found that the design of the support columns holding up the awning over the hotel entry was inadequate and not corrected. And if not corrected, could result in a collapse of the awning. During the project, one of your engineers and EIT performed the column analysis which you used to complete the design. Next, please. If a complaint against you was filed with the board, what level of responsibility do you and your EIT bear on the apparent inadequate design of the columns with respect to board rules? A, you hold 100%. B, you hold 50%. You as a professional engineer. C, you hold nothing, no percent. The deficiency was caught and corrected. Or you hold 0% and your EIT takes the fall, 100%. Next, please. The answer is you. You're the PE of record, not the EIT. You're the licensed individual. You're the individual that is held responsible for the work that you signed and sealed, not anyone else. As a professional, as a licensed PE overseeing the work, it is your professional responsibility that all the work is done correctly. You are in responsible charge, always. Next, please. Third scenario. You've been engaged to perform an engineering inspection by a business owner whose building was damaged by hail. His insurance claim has been denied and he wants to refute the claim. The business owner informs you that a professional engineer for the insurance company described some of the damage to the building's roof may have caused may have been caused by the hailstorm. But most of the absorbed damage was old damage not caused by the storm. The owner also told you he is hoping your engineering report can be used to prove to the insurance company that it should pay for a complete roof replacement. Boy, you can't see this coming. Next, please. You conduct your inspection and it seems some of the roof is not due to hail damage. What do? A, provide select weather data and photographs of damage and write a report indicating that all damage was related to the storm event in order to support your client. B, provide a weather data, photographs, and write a report with your conclusion that some of the damage was caused by the storm event and some of the damage was predated storm event with detailed information that supports that conclusion. C, decline the engagement because you believe the client was not interested in an objective finding. Or D, decline the engagement because you do not believe there is ever a winner in the insurance-related claims. Next, please. The answer is B. Provide weather data, photographs, and write a report with your conclusion that some of the damage was caused by the storm event and some of the damage predated the storm event with detailed information that supports that conclusion. You have to be honest and ethical. If this individual continues on this process and an investigation ensues, there will be other professionals that may come to that property to evaluate it, and they may discover that there was in fact old damage that wasn't necessarily initiated by this hailstorm. A lot of the damage can be detected, the old damage can be detected. There's rust, there's rot, there's just a lot of things that can tell you whether that particular damage was caused by the hail or has been there for years, months, weeks, whatever, beforehand. It is your professional responsibility to be honest, objective, and truthful, and to support your conclusion with data and facts. Do not exhibit bias or preferential treatment based on the client. Say he's going to pay you $500. Are you willing to put your license on the line for $500, $1,000, $2,000? Think about it. Next, please. PSPA prohibits government entities from selecting providers of certain professional services on the basis of competitive bidding. This includes cities, counties, school districts, state agencies, and other professional bodies. When selecting an architect, engineer, or land surveyor, the PSPA requires a government entity follow the QBS selection process. The QBS is a two-step process which requires a government entity to first select the most highly qualified provider of services and second, negotiate a price. I think we have a follow-up. Go ahead, next. Oh, a scenario. Littletown, Texas is getting ready to proceed with a new project, construction of a town library. A prominent consulting engineering firm located in an adjoining city was awarded the engineering contract for this project. However, this firm, after getting the project, decided that it would require additional engineering design for surveying work, so that the firm sent a request for proposal to your firm, asking if your firm would be interested in performing work for the project. They requested a cost estimate from your firm to provide that. Go ahead. As the responsible professional for your firm, you respond to the these are your choices. As the responsible professional for your firm, you respond to the RFP with a cost estimate because you were contacted directly by the town, but rather by a private engineering company. B, you respond to the RFP providing general cost information. C, you respond to the RFP providing your firm's qualifications, but you do not provide any cost or pricing information. Or D, you respond to the RFP with your firm's qualifications, listing the number of professional engineer surveyors who would work on the project and their hourly salary, but you do not provide a total cost for the project. What do y'all think? Go ahead. The answer is C. You respond to the RFP by providing your firm's qualifications, but you do not provide any cost or pricing information. The PSPA applies to all levels of professional service for a public project. So, the problems that we run across here is that municipalities are not professional engineers, and they don't know not to put out bids with to the engineering public, as it were, or the engineers, and request for pricing information right off the top. So traditionally what we get is we get the phone call from a particular engineer who saw that bidding, or I'm sorry, that particular project, and they'll call us, and we'll, for the most part, we'll make contact with the city, county, whatever agency is involved, and we will notify them that they cannot require pricing for this particular project. Usually it's more of a internal error. The individual that puts together this package doesn't know not to put that in there. Go ahead.
Rick, this is just a time check. It's 12:50.
Okay. Go ahead, next. Continuing ed, we require 15 hours, as y'all know. 12 hours for RPLSs, must include at least 1 hour of ethics, 3 hours for RPLSs. Random audits are ongoing. If you've been, if you haven't been honest and we audit you, that'll come out. We've had multiple cases where people have noted that they have completed their audits when in fact they haven't. So these random audits, on a time or two, we managed to bring some people in, but find cases where people have fraudulently indicated that they have. So try not to do that. In fact, don't do that. Also, keep documentation for 3 years. Go ahead. Needs a system for continuing professional competence, tracking and reporting, no fee to register, upload documentation, report as needed for different boards. That's NESIS's side right there. Next, please. Compliance and enforcement, it's my department, technical, ethical, and professional. We have approximately 600 to 800 cases open. Last year we had about 600 cases. We have, again, approximately 68,000 licensed PEs, 2,700 registered RPLSs. So about 65% of the cases are resolved with voluntary compliance. Most are y'all professional enough to understand when you've done something that's in violation of our laws or rules, and accepting to move on down the road. Board action that we issue for those, or that we offer to those individuals that have cases against them, they include a range of up to revocation, as mentioned earlier, on that particular individual who would not stop performing engineering services on in fields that he wasn't competent in. Now, less than 10% of the cases are dismissed, so it's not a wide range that if we have a case against you, it's going to be dismissed, but they do happen at least 10% of the time. Next, please. You can mail, email, phone, or fax a complaint. Wouldn't fax it so much because I don't believe we even have a working fax at this time, but if you call us and tell us, I'll hook one up for you. Anonymous complaints are accepted. except for the fact that what you send to us, we may not be able to speak to you about clarifying some things. So those complaints may or may not be open, depending on what kind of information we get. We do have complaint forms that are available as needed. You can go into our website and find them online. Now remember to provide specific instances of the violation and provide evidence to show probable cause. Next, please. Board actions again, they can result in reprimands, both formal and informal. Suspensions, some of the suspension is possibly probated. Again, those are, you'll see that in the letter that you receive from us, and those are things that we offer. Also, we can refuse to renew your license. We can revoke your license. And as of a couple of years ago, we went up from $3,000 to $5,000 per violation per day. I guess in English pounds, it's $1,500 per day. Again, we can issue cease and desist orders, and we have the ability to also issue emergency suspensions. Next, please. Also, if you manage to get into one of our cases, and in addition to some of the financial angles of this, we also offer ethics courses through the National Institute of Engineering Ethics, usually offered at Texas Tech. We can also, depending on the case, and I had one case where that I can remember where we offered, we issued to the person, the PE, that they take technical courses due to the fact that they were not necessarily strong in a particular construction site of a stadium, and it caused a lot of problems with that stadium. So that, come to find out, that person did not have a lot of experience in that kind of work, which resulted in a lot of money being spent in correcting the errors that had been caused by the lack of that experience or education or qualifications that that person had in the field that she still had, but was not relevant, wasn't strong enough to help finish or actually perform that assignment adequately. So we had her enter technical courses. We also have restitution, practice limitations. So we, in that particular matter, the PE had practice limit. We scaled her practice down. We also have the ability to do civil, and not do, but be a part of civil or criminal cases. We have some police departments, sheriff's departments, federal agents, etc. They can come to us, and they usually do, and ask us questions about a particular PE, and we try to help them as much as we can. Next, please. By law, all violations except informal reprimands must be published. I'm sure you guys are all very well aware of the newsletters that we put out, and we also have it online. So most of the time, folks go straight to our enforcement section to see if they see their name or somebody that they know that's been sanctioned or actions have been taken against them by our board. We're running out of time, so we'll speed up here, Paul, if you can. Next slide, please. To prevent complaints, communication is key. Make sure you have that with your clients. Again, as mentioned earlier, if you can enter into a contract, that involves family too. You have plenty of family cases where brother versus brother, mother versus son, etc., because of work that was being done by a particular PE that wasn't necessarily done correctly. Again, check your calculations and designs and keep your documentation. Know the law and contact us if you have a question. Next, please. Policy advisories, they're on they're online. If you need to go to them, they usually are interpretations of a variety of subjects that we have gone through here with the board. Next, please. Technical experts. If you are one of those individuals that wants to participate in giving us some assistance in your profession, you can certainly make contact with us and volunteer to be placed on a technical expert list. You can always call us and ask us more about that. Next, please. As you know, we merged with the surveyor board, and we've been working on the laws, on the rules, to kind of bring them into some sort of bring them into the same areas that we're at, more in accordance to what we do here at the engineer board. Next, please. Legislative session, you see the dates. We usually track the bills that are related to engineering and surveying. Again, they're listed on our website. Next, please. Webinars, March, June, September, December. You can sign up for those. LS Ethics in the works. FE exams, you see who we cater that to. Next, please. Numbers of our outreach presentations. Next, please. Again, we do not offer a certificate. You can get with Paul and see if Paul will offer anything. PDF of the slides is also available. Paul, I guess, will talk to you about what he'll offer, if anything. Next, please. And that's it. I think my hour is up. You can always email me questions. You can contact Paul, and if you have any questions or comments about this presentation, we'd like to know. If you don't, great. And if you want to give me your name and confess to something that you've done, I'm here.
Well, thank you, Rick. We appreciate it. We did have one quick question. What are typical board actions if during a random audit an engineer does not have adequate documentation for their continuing education?
You know, Paul, they're all taken on a case-by-case basis. Usually, it's not, you don't lose your license. Usually, if you will get some sanction, and you will probably be placed in probation, and you have to probably take some ethics courses. If you're found that the information, as you mentioned, you didn't complete it, you didn't have it, it usually results in something like that. Now, financially speaking, it could range anywhere between $500 to several $1,000s, but usually not in the thousands of dollars.
Great. Thank you very much again, Rick. And now I believe, Bradley, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Is that right?
Yep.
Thanks,
All right.
Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Rick. We appreciate it. We're always appreciative of the Texas Board of Professional Engineers and y'all coming in and giving us an ethics presentation. So thank you. And I can't speak for the rest of the membership, but I know I personally love going through the disciplinary actions and the quarterly newsletter. So word of the wise, don't find yourself in there.
You're ruining the fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask our membership chair, Augustine, for today's head count. If Augustine is on.
It looks like he might have dropped off.
All right, so I'll fill in for Augustine. I think the time that I saw it at its highest, it was 81. Oh, Augustine, you there?
Mm.
No, okay. I'm going to say it's 81. So, and with that, that concludes today's luncheon. So thanks again for attending. Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe and healthy. We'll see you in the new year. Our next meeting is January 19th. And with that, that concludes the meeting. It's adjourned. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks, Bradley.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.